尽大的深情，为此发挥尽一切真妙法论，教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐，速证无生。The Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
Perfectly.
The blessed
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samyao sanputoshe. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jie nan zao yu. Wo jin jian wan de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhen shi yi. Can you repeat with me together? Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a million eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. We are here in Berkeley, California. It is Saturday, August 26th. We're about to look into the 8th ground of the Flower Garland Sutra. So let's get underway. And if you have this text in front of you, we're going to recite the name of the sutra and the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas that brought it to us. Namo Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa. Namo Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa. Namo Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa. Namo Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa. Namo Da Fang Guang Fu Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa. Namo Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa. Namo Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu please turn to page 12 and 13 in your book. Okay, we're on, if you count on page 12, the first line, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on line 4 of the Chinese. In the English, it's the paragraphs that begins, disciples of the Buddha. That would be the second full paragraph. Okay, we're going to read the Chinese first. So I'll give you a line and you give it back. Here we go, ready? 佛子 此菩萨, I'm sorry, my mistake. Try again. 此地菩萨本愿力故诸佛世尊亲现其前于如来智令其得入法流门中. Okay, that's it. We'll stop there. Go over to the next page, page 13. And should we try this in unison? Could we read together? Here we go. Disciples of the Buddha, through the power of this Bodhisattva's fundamental vows, all the Buddhas, world-honored ones, appear to him in person. They give him the wisdom of a Tathagata so that he can master the method of this Dharma stream. The story goes, we have a Bodhisattva paradigm. He's an exemplar. He's a model. It's a role model Bodhisattva, this awakened being. And he's on the 8th step of 10 steps, so you know he's pretty close to graduation from this long, long course of training as a real Bodhisattva. He's gone through some major transformations because of his meditation. Is that volume good? Is that about the right volume for you? It's good? Yeah, okay. Because of this meditation, he's changed. His mind works differently. I think the hardware has actually changed. He experiences the changes in software, you might say. Things that he used to take for granted don't work the way they used to, so he's had to learn some new responses to reality that happens to him. It's not what it used to be, to the point where he's got some options, one of which would be to quit, to just stop. And apparently that's enough of a possibility that the Buddhas, they say, here's our story, right? This is where we pick it up. The Buddhas come to this Bodhisattva and say, don't quit. So interesting to think about, how could it be so, what do you say, threatening, risky, unfamiliar, out and out scary, that what the Buddhas prescribe for this Bodhisattva is patience. This is called patience. Why? Because dharmas no longer arise to him. And the sutra tries to describe what it must be like, and it's only an approximation, because this is an amazing state of meditative samadhi. But it's that he's, from his eyes now, after his meditation, at this stage of his development, he can see past the surface of things to where things come from. But they just stop appearing in the old-fashioned way, and he sees them now as never having come into being at all, and yet they never leave either. So reality is flipped on its head. And what were things like before? Things were made of conditions. That's the formal way to describe it. Here's the language the sutra uses, that all dharmas arise from conditions, and they cease when those conditions come apart. Okay, simple explanation. If you want to make tea, you have to heat the water. If you dip a tea bag into cold water, a little bit of color comes out, but if you drink it, there's no flavor. It's not tea, it's just a wet tea bag. Right? If you heat the water, the molecules change. And you put the tea bag into boiling water, and wowee, color comes out, flavor comes out, you have a cup of tea. Something has changed, right? Because of the movement of the molecules of the water. The conditions came together for the water to get hot to the point of boiling, and my goodness, tea was a result. But turn the stove off, take the fire out from under the kettle, and it goes back to being what it was before. Conditions come apart. Okay, you all understand that much. So the Bodhisattva can see that instantly from start to finish, from root, you could say, below the ground, to the branch tip at the farthest extent of the tree. He can see that happen, but it doesn't happen the way it used to now. He's different. And okay, so what? Well, that's enough of a change to make him want to stop. So what happens? Disciples of the Buddha, through the power of this Bodhisattva's fundamental vows, all the Buddhas, world-honored ones, appear to him in person. They give him the wisdom of a Tathagata so he can master the method of this Dharma stream. The Buddhas show up to the meditator, to the Bodhisattva. Do they come to him in his sleep? It doesn't say. I guess it's in his conscious, to his conscious mind, wherever that is. Can you imagine having the Buddhas show up? Where would they show up? Certainly not when you're driving a car on the freeway, right? That could freak you out. You could become a traffic hazard. Where would the Buddhas pick to show up? Maybe at breakfast, when you're feeling rested and comfortable and fresh. Maybe just before sleep. Who knows? It doesn't tell us. But the Buddhas show up and they talk in the language the Bodhisattva can understand. And they give him a gift. They give him wisdom. They give him a Buddha's wisdom. Now, this is, what do you suppose? What do they give him? How do they give him a Buddha's wisdom? This would seem to be contrary to the theory of cause and effect, that wisdom is cultivated, doesn't it? Seems to be, how can somebody give me wisdom? What do they give him? Big question. So, as we look at the text, we're translating it from chapter 1 every week up at CTTB. We've got our translation group, and all these spirits, we're now in the realm of spirits. The bodhisattvas haven't shown up yet. The spirits, one by one, come and praise the Buddha. They talk about how wonderful the Buddha is, and they're about to yield to the bodhisattvas, and when the bodhisattvas come, there's a kind of, the best word we have is a blessing. The Buddha blesses them. He infuses them. There's another word. He gives them the whammy, right? The Chinese is, if you say, oh, 加持, 佛来加持他们, and then you go, yeah, what does 加持 mean? Well, it's hard to translate. Something leaves the Buddha and goes to the bodhisattva, and when the bodhisattva gets it, suddenly he or she is able to see things, say things, do things they couldn't do without that aid, without that blessing. So, is it, in a Christian context, is it grace? Maybe. Maybe. Of course, we don't know exactly what grace is, but it's a power. It's a light. It's an ability. Anybody who saw The Matrix, right? Everybody's favorite film back in the day, the Wachowski brothers. The Matrix, remember Neo? Neo sits down in the chair, and his buddies in the rebellion go through these cassettes. They're going on this and that. Okay, they toss the cassette into the chair that's connected to him via his electrodes, and he shakes around in the chair, and his eyes open. He goes, "I know Kung Fu," and he can go out and fight, right? And is that a kind of jiachi? Yeah, pretty much that's what's going on here. The Buddha's yu ta zhi hui, right? How does it say? Yu ru lai zhi. They give him the Tathagata's wisdom. So you wonder, gee, does it last? Is it temporary? What kind of abilities come with that wisdom? You wonder. So the sutra's not going to tell us, but it says that happens, and there's a reason why they do it, so that he can master the method of this Dharma stream. Now, honest, frankly, confession time, I don't know what that means. Here's what the Chinese says. Let's see how you would translate it. Okay, 诸佛世尊亲现其前, all Buddhas, I'm on line 4, Chinese. 亲, personally, 现, appear, 其前, in front of him. 于如来智, give to him, thus come wisdom. Ready? 令其得入, so that he can gain entry, is one way to translate, or master 法流 门中 Dharma, flow, doorway, gateway, in it, so that he can enter or master the gate of this Dharma flow, of this Dharma's current. All right? Interesting, huh? So, what would that mean? Well, first of all, the Buddhas are here to change his mind. We know that. The Buddhas are here to keep him from reacting the way, quote, any normal bodhisattva would react, which is to say, I'm out of here. This is too unfamiliar. This is too threatening. This is too weird to have everything that used to be normal and, quote, rational, logical, turn on its head. They are trying to get him to stop reacting the way they predict he's going to react, which is to split. Isn't that interesting? Right? Wow, this must be cognitive dissonance. Something is going on inside the bodhisattva at this point in his meditation that is, quote, perfectly normal for anybody who's been training as long as he has. And the Buddhas want to stop that reaction and replace it with another response. So they are now persuading the bodhisattva to continue. They are cheering him on. They can't cultivate for him. His thoughts are his thoughts. They're not messing around with his thought process. They're giving him reasons for him to behave in a way that they hope he will. Right? You all see what's going on here? This is persuasion. And it's very human. Notice that. The gods come down and talk to, God came down and talked to Job, but it was to hoodwink him, to fool him. Anybody knows the story. So here, they're hoping the bodhisattva will follow their advice. They are a coach to him. They are coaching the bodhisattva just the way your coach tells you to train harder and to get plenty of sleep and to hydrate so you don't pull your muscle, because it's going to be a tough set that you're about to go through, right? Just like that. They're coaching him. All right. So that he can master the method of the Dharma stream. Did you get anything out of the commentary there? The method of the Dharma stream?
The Venerable Master, he says, actually, he actually defines the Dharma stream. And he says, oh, sorry, I lost it. Sorry, I just lost the page. Can you come right back to me?
It's all right. Take your time. No rush. So tell me when you get it.
Okay, found it.
So you found it.
Yeah. Okay. So it says this Bodhisattva, he's made great vows, and the Buddhas of the 10 directions appear to him. They often appear right before him, and they jabeta, they empower him.
加持, bless him.
令他得道如, they have give him, so he has the Tathagata's wisdom, and then he's able to enter the Dharma stream. And it says, 法流的意思. So what is the Dharma stream? The meaning is, it causes him to be able to give rise to 无功用恒, the effortless practice, which makes sense if you think about, if you're into this Dharma stream, you're kind of now carried by the stream of the Dharma rather than your own effort.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, we'll go with that. Thank you. So, what happened in the 8th ground 2 lectures ago, that is to say, just a couple pages ago, was the Bodhisattva, for the very first time, had this ability called effortless practice, 无功用恒. And the sutra gave us an analogy of everything from his very first thought of practicing the way bodhisattvas practice right up to the 7th ground was effortful. Effortful practice. He had to think about it, then he had to apply himself, use a technique, and get better at it, and then master it, and then go on to the next one, right? Effortful. The same way that, let's say, for us, we want to learn to bake bread. Okay? Anybody learn to bake bread? Or maybe this year you're going to grow potatoes or tomatoes or beans. You're a gardener. You're a baker. You're learning to use a sewing machine. Something like that. Riding a bicycle, learning to swim. Something like that. At first, it's really awkward and clunky, and you have to kind of go back to the book, Could be you decided you want to learn Adobe Photoshop or some equivalent, big piece of software. Same thing. You watch, what do we do these days? YouTube. We download a YouTube video and, compare them. So you learn, and it's a little effort, it's difficult, you make mistakes, and if you're motivated, you try 3 times, 5 times, 7 times, 10 times, and hey, you can. You can do it. The bread comes out pretty good 4th time. First 3 times, you kind of, somebody, you don't want to really eat it. So the 4th time is a good loaf of bread. The tomatoes come out firm and ripe. You can swim. You can ride your bike. You can use the software, because now you can. And if you continue, pretty soon, you can do it without thinking. Probably the best example is driving a car, right? At first, stick shift. Anybody ever learn stick shift? And tonk, tonk, tonk. Put the clutch in. Oh, there, Oh, and then later on, you can drive a stick shift on Gough Street in San Francisco and no sweat. You drop off the handbrake, drop off the clutch, and you don't slide back into the car behind you. You go forward. Why? Because you can. Effortlessly. You can drive a stick shift, just like that. But think about the time that it takes to get to that place of effortlessness, till it becomes, quote, a habit. Okay, well, even a habit requires ergs of effort, right? The Bodhisattva, it says, at this point, right here, 8th ground, is something changes, and the same abilities are there, but they come from somewhere inside. There's another octave of knowledge available. And you've heard me exhaustively do the octave thing. the octave string is always, the octave note is always present in a string, but you have to tap it at the right place, and suddenly, boom, boom, the boom comes out of the boom, right? Because it was there, but you didn't activate it. The Bodhisattva has these abilities, and now they're activated. When he masters the methods of this Dharma stream, he's not very good at it yet. They just opened his effortless practice. But somehow he is now qualified. He's now qualified. The word Dharma vessel comes up later. Like, here's a tea vessel. Okay, this is it a cup full of liquid? I'm not sure, but it's, it's a cup of tea. All right? Well, if you imagine that being twice as big, it's doubled. It can hold 2 cups, 3 cups. At this point, you can't drink it. It's too big, not convenient. Coke bottles. When I was a kid, if you drank Coke, it was, David, was it 6 ounces or 8 ounces? You never drank Coke. You're no fun. Sally, did you ever? No, my God, I didn't. Tell you what, I never did either. Come to think of it, 7-Up occasionally. My dad was a diabetic, bless his heart. My mom, to keep him alive, we never had any kind of soft drinks, or cakes, or pies, or candy. My dad couldn't stop himself, and if he ate sugar, he would have died, because his insulin balance was really carefully done. So we never had Coke either. Soft drinks, in general, I would go to my friend Donnie's house, and his mom had Coke and 7-Up and Pepsi. They were tiny, my point. Bottles used to be, was it 6 or 8 ounces? 8, okay, 8 ounces, right? And then, I remember, Coke became, the universal brand, and what was next? 10, maybe? And they had special names for them, giant economy size. And then there were 12. And if you stop off the highway, you're on Highway 5, you're on Highway 101, and you stop at a plaza, and you see the long haul truckers coming out with a 64-ounce big gulp. And it's like that. And they maybe put down 2 of those a day, And you think, yeah, that's a Dharma, that's a vessel. Used to be a little, you just don't, 6-pack. Not anymore. 64 ounces is considered perfectly acceptable now. So, 6 times what they used to be. 10, 12 times. 6 into 68, 64. How many times does 6 go into 64? 10, more than 10, 10 times bigger now. And our bodies are, correspondingly bigger. So anyway, the point is, the Bodhisattva is getting a bigger Dharma vessel. He can hold more water in this Dharma stream flow now. Okay, good. So far so good? Moving on. What happens? 坐如是言 善哉善哉善男子 此人第一 顺诸佛法 然善男子我等所有实力无畏18不公 诸佛之法今汝未得 汝今未得 汝应未欲成就此法 亲加精进 无福放射于此人们 Okay, here we go. Ready? They say to him, excellent, good indeed, good man. This patience is the very best because it corresponds with all Buddha's dharmas. However, good man, you have not yet attained all the 10 powers, the fearlessnesses, and the 18 dharmas special to a Buddha, dharmas characteristic of the Buddhas. Be diligent and vigorous in order to realize them. Do not let them go because of this door of patience. Okay, a message from the Buddhas to the Bodhisattva. Look at what they're telling him. This is, again, selling him on the idea of continuing and not quitting. there is the possibility that he will stop. And apparently many do. And if the Bodhisattva stops, they're in what's called Wan Kong, dull emptiness, which is it's a nirvanic kind of samadhi state, but their functions are totally limited, right? So they've lost a bodhisattva and a future Buddha if he stops or she stops. So they say, good, 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 shanzai, shanzai, shananza. Notice that character shan repeated 3 times. That's the character for good, good, good. Excellent. Way to go, basically. Shanzai is well done. Good job. In the Pali tradition, what do they say? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu bante. 四人第一, this patience is number 1. Calling on him to bring forth patience. Patience. Gotta have patience. 顺住佛法. It accords with the Buddha's Dharma. This is capital D plural. This patience allows you to learn to swim in this Dharma stream the way all Buddhas have. Now that's interesting because he's got the wisdom of a Tathagata, but he's not a Buddha yet. So, kind of like, I don't know, what's it kind of like? What do we have that would be equivalent? I guess if you were learning to be a doctor, suppose you were heading for being a MD, right? You're in med school. And you can cut patients open, remove things, sew them back up, but you're not a doctor. You might be an intern, and physically you have the ability, you have some of the knowledge, you don't have the certification that you will later as a medical professional, right? So the Bodhisattva has the wisdom of a Tathagata, but doesn't use it the way a Buddha would. Limited. So it's a kind of knowledge, but it's not his yet. All right? So he still needs to use patience. 慈人第一, this patience is number 1. This is the best. 顺住佛法, ran shananda. However, good man, good son. It's good male son, good male child, actually. So that doesn't exclude female children, mind you. But he's talking to this man in this case. 我等所有, 我等, we, this plural, we the Buddhas, we Buddhas, 10 powers, fearlessnesses, and 18 special Buddha Dharmas. 诸佛之法, these are unique to the Buddhas. You have not got them yet. They're not yours yet. Notice the persuasion here. He's kind of like throwing out the lure. And you want those? You haven't got them yet. So, but you should, say the Buddhas. It's appropriate for you to 成就此法, to master these. You need to be good at these, right? 勤加精进, work hard. 勤加精进, advance, work, put in effort. 勿复放射于此人们. Don't, now there's 2 ways to interpret this one, and I have done it one way, it might be the other way. Do not let them go because of this door of patience. Don't rest in patience and fail to advance, or 无复放射, don't let this door of patience go. And not get them, right? So it's either don't let these dharmas that we're telling you about go because you're stuck in the patience, or don't let the patience go and fail to pick them up. The result is the same, but I'm not exactly sure. The Chinese allows both translations. Okay, what are they? Are you ready for a Buddhist list or 3? Check it out. Here we go. You ready? This is tonight's menu. You pick 1 from column A and 2 from column B, and add the hoisin sauce, right? What are these? He said, you don't have the wisdom powers, the 4 fearlessnesses, and the 18 special Buddha Dharmas. So, how interesting. In other words, At every step along the path, there's knowledge that comes with it. If you're an arhat and you have transformed desire, desire doesn't move you anymore. You don't flow out after wealth, sex, fame, food, and sleep, or forms, sounds, smells, tastes, sensations of touch or dharmas. You don't move after those. You turn your energy back at all times. You can accomplish and master the Four Noble Truths. Those are yours. And the Eightfold Path. Those are yours. You connect with them entirely. Those are dharmas characteristic of the Shravaka path, the sound hearers, the voice hearers, right? And they say you progress, you become what's called a Pracheka Buddha, a solitary Buddha, somebody who is enlightened to conditions. You see conditions coming together. What is your dharma that is yours is the 12 links of conditioned arising. Pratitya Samutpada, they call it. That's just, you understand how things are created and how they're destroyed when they link and pull each other into being. That's your wisdom. It's innate. It's part of that awareness. The Pracheka Buddha, the solitary Buddha, is wiser and has deeper samadhi than the Shravaka. They're called together two vehicles, Chun, right? But none of the two vehicle cultivators know what a bodhisattva knows. There's dharmas that come along with the next stage, and it's the 6 paramitas. 六度万行, 6 perfections, the 6 ways across. Bodhisattvas just immediately, spontaneously, as they make the bodhi resolve and move forward, they understand how to work with living beings and bring forth these 对治法, these antidotes, which is what generosity crosses over stinginess. They see stinginess in people or in themselves, they practice generosity to take it across, right? They see an irresolute, a lax nature, and they use precepts to cross it over. They see somebody who is angry and uncontrolled, and they use patience to take it across. They see someone who is slovenly and scattered, they use vigor or strength, virya paramita, to take it across. They see someone who is scattered entirely and has no samadhi, and they use dhyana samadhi. They see someone who misunderstands principles, doesn't understand cause and effect, they use maha prajna paramita to take it across. The 6 paramitas, part of being a bodhisattva. Okay, Buddhas have a set, 2, that comes along with being a Buddha. Mind you, there are 84,000 things that Buddhas use, but this is a set that is uniquely, they also have like 3 bodies, 4 wisdoms, things like that. But in the Avatamsaka, this is our teaching of our sutra, this list is part of Buddhahood. 10 wisdom powers. We've talked about them a bunch because they're so neat. 十智力, 10种智慧的力量, 十智力. Bodhisattvas have them, Buddhas have them. But here are the Buddhas throwing out the bait to the Bodhisattva, saying, keep coming, because these are ahead of you. You haven't got them yet. Reel them in. Okay, what are they? I'm not going to wait for you to write them all down. You can look them up, but I'll just list them. If I wait for you to write them down, we're going to be here all night. So, you know what is the case and what is not the case. You have that wisdom strength. You see the differences in the ripening of karma of living beings. When things should be happening to that person, you know when. And you can teach with that. I won't, if I try to do the Chinese, I'll get it wrong. So you're on your own, Simon. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to give you that. There's a beautiful Chinese list for all these. I don't have it committed to memory. 处非处智力, something like that. 竹叶成熟力, something like that. The third is you know all the samadhis and the liberations. You can master every single kind of samadhi. You are a meditation master. And what are called the liberations, the bhajya. The 4 dhyanas, for example, you handle them like a pro. Because you have the wisdom power. And you know how to use them to teach. That's the refrain for each of these powers is you use them to teach. Because with these power tools, you are never wrong. You never waste a single lesson because you know exactly when to say what to who in order to move them, to entice them, to scare them, to encourage them and inspire them. Right? Number 4, you know every difference in beings' faculties. You know who's an ear person. You know who's a visual person. You know who could be moved by tactile influence. You know every living being's difference in understandings. You know essentially their capacity, right? This person is a history buff, so you can use stories from the past. This person has no interest in history, but they're spontaneous and love kinetic movement, so you use mime, pantomime, not history. You delight their eyes and movement. So to teach, right? So wisdom power. You have the wisdom power that knows all the different realms of living beings. Who was recently in the ghost realm? Who was recently in the animals realm? Who has been a human being for life after life? Who has come down out of the heavens? Fallen. Now a rich, wealthy human with some of the blessings of the heavens. You know in a look, and you can teach from that ability. This one I love. You know with the first step where all paths lead. Have the wisdom power. You see if the person takes one step, you can tell exactly where they will be down the road. You have the ability of knowing past lives. You have the ability of the functioning of the Deva eye, the heavenly eye, not celestial eye, that you see into the heavens, you see into the hells. And the last one is you're able to cut off all habitual energies, sever them so that you come back to your nature. You can end habits. Amazing. 10 powers. Those are what Buddhas have. And their teaching is always, boom, spot on, perfect. Because it's like X-ray vision for the people that they're trying to help. Okay, what are the 4 fearlessnesses? Anybody? It's not what you think. It's the other set. It is the speaking. Oh, can you do it? Oh, he needs a microphone because otherwise you're going to mumble. Thinking that. What is it?
Fearless speaking before the fourfold assembly?
Nope.
Not that one.
Nope. Another set. This is so interesting. I used to think it was that. 4 kinds of fearlessness based on eloquence. It does have to do with speaking, but it's not. There's some subtle psychology here. You have the fearlessness of omniscience. You're not afraid to know everything. Some keen observation of human, right? We run from too much knowledge. We run from freedom. So you have, it's called wei. It's called yi che zhi wei. Fearlessness of omniscience. Okay? You're not afraid. You are not afraid to end outflows. Why is Las Vegas America's playground? Is it fun losing your money? I guess. Is it fun drinking too much, eating a lot of bad food for free, and watching some over-the-hill entertainer, and you know you're not going to beat the house, but we gamble. If you've ever known, if somebody has a gambler in their family, I apologize but it's kind of like having an alcoholic in the family. gambling is a disease. And casinos, Reno, Las Vegas, in America, prey on the diseased and it's called ranku wei le, turning what is misery into fun. And now it's for the whole family, right? Take your kids to Las Vegas, right, for a family vacation. It's just confused. It's upside down. And we love it. So it's called outflow, the ending of courage when outflows end. In other words, we don't want it to stop hurting. Why are you hitting yourself in the head with a hammer? Because it feels so good when I stop. So I'll do it again. Oh. It felt good to not hit upside down, right? Truly upside down. And the Buddhas can talk about it, and we'll take it from them, right? So, speak the fearlessness of speaking about the path of obstacles. Okay? So telling, you know what these four are? It's just telling the truth. Master Hua would say, you can sell lies and falsehoods and distorted truths in the marketplace for the highest price, and people will come and buy. But you can't give away a bushel basket of the truth. People don't want to hear it, right? So the Buddhas have courage to speak about what really blocks us. Okay, and the last one, speaking about the ending of the path to suffering. Fearlessness of telling people the truth about how to make suffering end. Now, Shifu, when he would talk to his Dharma-speaking disciples, myself, Marty, and a few others, Professor Verhoeven, he would say, you can't really talk about the true stuff, especially not to lay people. They can't take it. And we would go, really, Shifu? And he'd say, really. You have to be discreet. You have to go gently and around the corner. Okay? So, just to toss you out. So, fearlessness, omniscience, outflows, ending, the path of obstacles, the ending of the path of suffering. Buddhas have courage to speak about those things in ways that make sense and don't chase you all away. Okay? Now, why is the city of 10,000 Buddhas such an unpopular place to go cultivate in the West? You just drive another 20 miles north and you've got all these lovely monks at Abhayagiri, all these Westerners looking so happy and glowing and chubby, and you want to pinch them, You go to the city of 10,000 Buddhas and it's like, everybody's like, it's like Auschwitz, Never mind. So, it's a little too true, That's all right. So, 18 Dharmas special to Buddhas. 18不共法, there are 18 Dharmas that are not shared with Bodhisattvas. Okay, so the Buddhas are saying, you haven't got them yet. If you keep cultivating, you can get them. What are they? You want to hear all 18? Yeah, Dharma Master, tell us all 18. I really want to hear them. Is he done yet? Only 14? Oh, God. 18 Dharmas. They're short, okay? And there will be a quiz afterwards, so pay close attention. Your body makes no error. Your mouth makes no error. Your thoughts make no errors. You got 3. You have no wrong thinking. You never leave the mind of samadhi. You never fail to renounce. Okay, look at that one. If we saw the Buddha, apparently, there is descriptions. Anybody who's been to the Jada Grove in Varanasi, the Jada Grove is right outside of Varanasi, and it's a park. It's well preserved. The Mahabodhi Society of Sri Lanka takes care of it, and it's grassy, and they have the bricks from the original vihara. So they've been there 2,500 years. India has old ruins, from the Buddha's time. So they see the bricks, just the foundation. Here's where the Buddha sat in meditation and woke up at 2 in the morning and started his meditation, looking out over the entire world and sending out his metta, they say. And then the Buddha would, get up from his meditation, take his bowl, and go out into the city of Shravasti and receive alms. Now, when the Buddha went out to receive alms, did he have a pickup truck behind him, carrying his armchair and his iPod and his iPad and his iPhone and all of the things that he was hoping he was going to get? They carry bushel baskets for all the Cheetos and, apples. And he went with his bowl. The Buddha was an ascetic to the end. And it's not that he was niggardly, miserly, uptight, pinched. He didn't need anything, right? So he went with a bowl and sandals and a robe. They say he got his alms in the bowl, whatever was offered, came back, washed his feet, sat down on this little brick room where he lived, and had his lunch with the monks. That's it. Simple, really simple. To the end, simple. And yet, you never think of the Buddha as lacking, of being in want or in need. He's just full of light and goodness and kindness, right? We look at His Holiness. His Holiness, we watched him give a talk, convocation to the commencement address to UC San Diego, convocation maybe. And he's got a sun visor because the lights are bright, And he's got his glasses that change color in the sun. And he's got a wristwatch. But that's all. Apparently he has a treadmill. His Holiness runs a treadmill. But he's got a meditation cushion, but that's pretty much it. He's an ascetic. Master Hua had nothing. I entered his room on 2 occasions at Gold Mountain Monastery, and you had to kind of go sideways to get through his room because people gave Master Hua all kinds of things, and he would go, "Oh, okay, Gongda Wuliang." He would set it there, right? Never touch it again. So his room was filled with things, unopened offerings of shirts and socks and caps and things like that. And he would occasionally he would give them to his disciples. You need some socks here. But otherwise they were just everywhere because he didn't ever touch them. He wore the same robe for 10, 15, 20 years. And didn't have a car, People would drive him and they would give him a Mercedes and he would just pass it on. I like my Chevrolet, Had a Chevy station wagon that was 12 years old. And the Volkswagen buses and things like that. He just, nothing. So, never let go of the mind of renunciation. At no point do the Buddhas cash in to get the good stuff, right? So how about that? Special, simple lives. Their vows never shrink. They're never less. Their vows are never less. Their vigor never decreases. Their mindfulness never decreases. Their wisdom never decreases. Their liberation never decreases. Their liberated knowledge and perspectives never decrease. That's 12. We got 6 more, okay? So from 6 to 12 was bu sun, right? Things that never decrease. And if you're not a Buddha, they can. You can have it today, but less tomorrow. The Buddha, his his vows, his vigor, his mindfulness, wisdom, liberation, and liberated knowledge and viewpoints never decrease. Okay, now, ready? 13, 14, 15. All physical karma follows wisdom. All speech karma follows wisdom. All mental karma follows wisdom. Instead of what? Desire, selfishness, attachment, opinion, right? Bias, prejudice. Okay, then the last three. Your knowledge, wisdom's knowledge of the past is unobstructed. Wisdom's knowledge of the future is unobstructed. And wisdom's knowledge of the present is unobstructed. Those kind of a letdown, the 18, they seem so kind of, boiling water, no flavor, right? Right? 煮水开白菜, 当然无味. Body makes no error, mouth makes no error, thoughts make no error. You never think wrong. You never leave samadhi. You never let go of your renunciation. Your desire, vigor, mindfulness, wisdom, liberation, and liberated knowledge and views never decrease. Your body, mouth, and mind karma follow wisdom, and your wisdom of the past, present, and future are unobstructed. It seems like it's no big deal, right? But the Buddhas alone have these 18. Interesting. Funny list, huh? So what do you make of these lists? This is really something, because, I'm here, the commentator I'm what you call an exegete, doing exegesis of our sutra. And when you get a list like this, 我等所有实力无畏18不公诸佛之法如今未得. There it is. My job is to either skip over them or report them. Right? Last week we talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about the heavens, the Brahma realm, right? And the Dhyanas. So this time we got these lists. What do you do with these lists? Well, one thing, you can actually give a quiz. And there are monks in the past who would say, you're responsible for these now. Look them up and report back. And I want to allow these to be heard. I don't want them to vanish. But what do you do with a list like that? One thing is to note that a lot of Buddhism comes down in lists. It's true as well in Hinduism. There's lots of progressive, successive cultivation. One example would be the what are called the 9 stages of a decaying corpse. Oh boy, there's a list for you, right? When you see her, they go, "Ooh, that's kinky and weird, groovy." So what is it? There is a way for young monks and nuns in training to practice to reduce their sexual desire, because that can be a real obstacle if you're leading a celibate life, right? It's normal and healthy people turning around their energy so that they can transform it into wisdom. How do you do it? Well, one method traditionally is to contemplate the body as it is. How is it? Well, it's not what we see in the mirror. And so traditionally in Thailand, monks would occasionally go down to the city morgue and observe dead bodies. Or they would keep a real skeleton somewhere in the monastery so they could look at the ribs and realize, yep, that's my set right there. They would look at the spine going up into the skull. Yep, mine right the same. And you see the body different than the idealized, physical form that advertising presents us. So there's a traditional way of doing that dramatically, where you find something that is dead. Let's say a rabbit on the way between your monastery and the village where you go for your alms rounds. you see a bird or a rabbit that somehow has escaped the scavengers, and you get the permission of your teacher, you can watch it transform to go from, poor sad little dead rabbit to dust. And it's go in 9 steps. And there's a traditional list. And bit by bit by bit, you watch the things happen. I won't go into it tonight because it's pretty disturbing. But you get the idea. There's a list, right, where you watch those things happen. And the 12 links is another one. That's a famous list at the 6th ground. We're in ground 8. The 6th ground talked about the 12 links of conditioned arising that pull each other along. And you don't skip. You don't go from 1 to 3. You go 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. You go sequentially to the 12, and then 12 takes you back to 1 again. So a lot of the Buddha's teaching comes down to us 2,500 years later as lists. Our famous translator of Sanskrit text, Dr. Edward Konza, said that fundamentally, he said, most of what we know as sutras now, including the Prajnaparamita, came about as lists. Because this practice worked, that kind of yoga worked, we want to get another one. How about a third one? Oh, we'll do this set on the ground. This is great. Let's do this set standing. So you got 12 asanas or 12 postures that fit into an appropriate method of practice for people who want stretching in this way, right? So you have a set. Konza says that's how all the Buddha Dharma arose. Now, true or not, that's a scholar's point of view. But here we are with the 10 wisdom powers, the 4 kinds of fearlessness, which have to do with fear of the truth, and you need courage to face the truth, and then 18 special dharmas that Buddhas only have. Okay? So, have I done my duty by presenting those to everybody, and you kind of heard them, we're working with them, all right? So, be diligent and vigorous in order to realize them. Don't let them go because you've reached this door of patience and you're fine, you're not going to study anymore. Be vigorous. Keep going. You're not there yet. Okay? So far, so good. Any questions or comments? Jinchuan, what are you thinking?
I thought of a couple of things. Actually, the unique dharmas of a Buddha list is very interesting because in a way it's actually saying that only the Buddhas make no error. I mean, those list of things, sometimes, at least for me, I think, any kind of enlightened being is kind of somehow, quote unquote, really kind of has arrived. But it seems like actually even awakened beings can make mistakes, leave samadhi, have all these different things. And these somewhat seemingly simple things are actually only the Buddhas have.
There you go.
That's actually a very interesting
They're really
reflection.
profound.
Yeah, they're
when
actually,
it gets really simple, you go, oops, this must go deep.
Yeah. Just like, you're always following wisdom.
Yeah, you're perfect. In other words, perfection.
It's like, that's not a small thing.
Yeah, right. If, let's say you're a parent to a teenager. Tough being a parent to a teenager. And you really see the teenager is about to run amok because you remember when you did it. And you want to tell them not to do it. And they're not going to listen. And you say it anyway, and it gets that reaction, and they hear your tone. They don't even have to hear your words. They just know what you're going to say, and And as the parent just goes, because what are you going to do? You can't tell them. They won't hear it simply because it's coming from your mouth. And Buddhas never have that frustration because they know exactly the right way to say it, to slip past the guard, to make sense to you. Right? How sad to be a parent and know that there's a certain number of years when your kid cannot learn from you. And then magically, somehow, 10 years later, you've learned so much, and your kid comes back and, Mom, Dad, I'm amazed how much you guys have learned in the last 10 years, you know. Before I used to think you didn't know anything, and now I just realized, whoa, you're pretty smart, you know. Yes, dear. You know, magically the kid has come back, and you're different, right? So, how interesting. That, right, good point, that they never make mistakes with their speech, with their thoughts, with their actions. Buddhas are completely in the flow. They are like Confucius. He said at age 70, he could follow his every wish and it would be in accord with the Tao. Now, was Confucius a Buddha? I wouldn't say that. That's not. But there's a similar kind of thought being expressed here, right? At 70, Confucius says, I could just, you know, any thought that arose in my mind would not offend the way things are in heaven and earth. But it took him 70 years to get there. And he describes that famous passage from the Zhongyong or the Daxiao, where he describes each age and its amount of confusion. Question?
How many lifetimes did Buddha have to go through this list, or was it able to attain?
Can you ask it in? Yeah, go ahead.
So my question is, how many lifetimes did the Buddha have to go through to be able to attain all these, I guess, powers on the list, or was it able to attain in one lifetime?
No, it's a good question. It's not fixed. There's no one answer fits all. Every Buddha, as I understand it, has his own set of causes and conditions. And there are some landmarks along the way that are consistent. For example, Buddhas get a prediction from another Buddha. So that will happen. But the amount of time between the prediction to Buddhahood and the actual event is different. For example, they say, right this minute, Maitreya Bodhisattva is in the Tushita heaven, the inner courtyard of the Tushita heaven, waiting for the time to be ripe for him to come down into our Saha world and become a Buddha. And they say when he does, he is here for a grand total of 3 days and 3 nights, and then he enters Mahaparinirvana. Okay, our Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, Maitreya's predecessor, had, 80, how many years? He had 49 years as a Buddha after his awakening, and he was 35 when he woke up. So his lifetime is considered really short because there are Buddhas whose lifetimes extend for eons, right? So it's all different. You can't generalize. Here's our Bodhisattva who is on the 8th ground and has been working on it for quite a while, and he's not there yet, or she's not there yet. So, lifetimes, they say, Sanda Eseng Qi Jie. Buddhas cultivate for 3 large, uncountable eons. And an eon is how many zeros in an eon? There are different calculations, but an eon. Jinwei Shi, how many years in an eon? Did your preparation provide you that data? He's reaching for his Google. He's there. Wikipedia. Okay. All right. 金佛是一个劫多少年呢？多少个零字啊？有个中劫、大劫、小劫，就说一个劫多少？ Anybody got there? Don't do it. If you got Wikipedia open, that's all right. I could have looked it up myself, but I didn't. You'll notice that I didn't give you the answer. I threw it off on those guys. So anyway, Three Buddhas cultivate. They call it the yin di, the ground of causes, last 3 large, innumerable eons. Connie, how long? How long? A billion. Okay, 1 eon is 1 billion years, says that calculation. Is that a Buddhist reckoning? I don't think it's 1 billion in Buddhism, but that is an actual astronomical counting where you watch the planets, which are very precise. So, okay, long time. So the answer, Sophia, is a very long number of years, lifetimes. All right? But if you don't start now, when are you going to start? I mean, don't wait. You know, who knows? That you could have gone already 1.99009, years, lifetimes, and you're just about to get there. You don't know. Okay, more. The bottom of page 13. 又善男子如虽得是寂灭解脱，让诸凡夫未能证得，种种烦恼皆悉现前，种种觉观常相侵害，如当泯念如是众生。Furthermore, good person, although you have mastered the liberation of serenity, ordinary living beings have not yet realized it. They still struggle with every affliction. All kinds of awarenesses harm them. Take pity on those sentient beings. There it is, by golly. This is, can we do one more? Can we flip over here? I want to do the next one. Okay, up at the top here, page 14, 15. 又善男子如当意念本所誓愿，普大饶益一切众生，皆令得入不可思议智慧之门。Furthermore, good person, recall the fundamental vows you made to help sentient beings so that they can all master inconceivable wisdom. Okay, here's the Buddha's biggest pitch. That makes it sound insincere, doesn't it? It's their most persuasive argument. They're going for the heart, going for the bodhisattva's heart. What are they saying? It's not, you can get something if you keep going. That's what the last one was. You keep going and you can get the 10 and the 4 and the 18. Well, that's, appealing to, maybe he wants that. But this time they say, living beings are suffering. Don't forget your vows. You said in the past, right? ... You said you were going to save them. You said living beings are numberless, I vow to save them all. Well, you haven't saved them all and they're miserable. Don't stop. This is the trump card. Right? This is their number one motivator. Okay? Don't forget, it's still miserable out there. And you've got this thing called the liberation of serenity. Okay? You're fine already. You're beyond pain now. It doesn't hurt you anymore. Because your wisdom has put you into this place where you see how things neither arise nor fall anymore. You're beyond, your wisdom allows you to rest without moving in the midst of things that are moving. Okay? Now, let's step that back. What's different? His self doesn't work the way it did. This bodhisattva from when he first started to meditate, all the way through the Bodhi Resolve and grounds 1 through 7, he was gradually wiping away his view of self. He was erasing, scraping away, dissolving, unraveling that sense of big me in the middle. I'm so different, I'm so special, I'm unique. Because in his practice he looked and he couldn't find those qualities anymore. His meditation and his wisdom were really growing, and he saw through the illusion of self. Bit by bit. Every time he transferred merit, he gave it away. Every time he put others first, she lost some of the self. to a point where it actually, it's like, what do they say? You pull the arrow and there's no more self and others. And with the diminishing of the self, what replaces it is this connection with everyone. So it's not just warm and fuzzy for the Bodhisattva anymore. Oh, I love everybody. That's great, that's emotion. What's the I that loves everybody? There's still separation there. At this point, the Bodhisattva is no different than all living beings. And the self doesn't work the way it used to. Okay, at that point, this Bodhisattva's samadhi and, they say, the Tao, and the Dharma correspond. And there's a real difference. Things function differently. The dhyanas happen, this stage of infinite harmony of body, mouth, mind, nature, and all things. Right? We talked about it as this new tuning. I talked about driving a Porsche from Michigan to Hamilton, Ontario, delivering this Porsche, and never having driven the car, you could feel it through the transmission. It was a 911 Porsche, and I'd driven Volkswagens before, and this guy dropped me into his 911 Porsche, and first gear was 50 miles an hour. Now, like that, and just the sound of those little tiny cylinders in there. It's still a four-banger, but just was different. And the transmission just was, it just worked so well. And now the Bodhisattva, when he meditates like that, everything is just meshing. And so as a result, his suffering is different. It doesn't hurt in confusion the way it did because nothing stops inside him. Right? Things go right through. Doesn't look ahead to them, doesn't fear them when they arrive. He doesn't cling to them as they go. So, the Buddhas are saying, right, you're already good. But you know what? They're not. Please keep cultivating. Don't stop. So they're taking aim right at his heart. Now, this is the real motivator. They're playing on his compassion. And it works. Because the Bodhisattva remembers, and these are people he cares about. She cares about. Right? Okay. You've mastered the liberation of serenity. Ordinary living beings, fanfu, haven't. They struggle with greed, anger, delusion, pride, doubt, everything, revenge, low self-esteem, right? All kinds of awarenesses harm them. What would that be? The thought that somehow they're falling behind the Joneses and they need to keep buying new stuff to keep up with the image. Looking in the mirror and thinking, oh, I better diet again, right? Oh, swimsuit season. Here we are and approaching September, and I guess swimsuit season's over. So what do? Can we stop dieting now because we're not going to be on the beach? Is that how? I don't know how it works. So take pity on those sentient beings. Furthermore, recall your vows that you made to help them out so that they can get not only out of suffering, but all the way to Buddhahood. Right? So think about a bodhisattva's vows. Who's the number one? The number one vow exemplar? That's Earth Store, Earth Treasury, Dizang Pusa. And what do his vows do? He's only got two. Earth Store Bodhisattva only has two vows, but they're said to be the biggest ones because why? His first one says, only until the hells are empty. I will stay in the hells until they are empty. 地狱为空，誓不成佛. I will not be a Buddha until the hells are empty. When does that happen? Could be a long time, but the idea is he's going to empty the hells and bring beings out. Okay, out to where? You assume to humanity? Okay, back to the human realm. 众生度尽方正菩提. Only after beings have been taken across to Buddhahood will I realize Bodhi. So he's saying half of the vows are pulling them all out of suffering, and then the other half are getting them all the way to Buddhahood and Nirvana. So those are vows, right? 2 vows, but they mean he's going absolutely last. Pretty amazing. And so they're saying, don't forget your vows. Living beings are suffering. Take them to ultimate liberation, just like Earth-Store Bodhisattva. Okay, there it is. I've been promising you this moment in our 8th ground for a long time. And, I mean, this is magnificent. How the Buddhas are coaching our Bodhisattva, you know. Go, 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 go. Don't stop, don't stop. Right? Any comments or questions on this? Anybody equally moved? I don't know. Yeah, Jerry. Okay. What would a mistake be? Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I gave the example of parents trying to teach teenagers. It's classic tragedy. Why? Parents they're just doing what their heart tells them. They see their kid, you know. We had one here. We had a great one. One of our young men, I won't tell you who he is, said, "Mom, I want to smoke marijuana. I'm the only one among my buddies who doesn't. Can I? Is it all right, Mom?" So what did she do? Like a good mom, she brought it to me and asked me for my advice. And I'm like, so it's like, because why? It's the same story. You know, remember the Gandhi story? Famous, true story, Gandhi, right? The woman comes and she says, Gandhiji, Gandhiji, my son eats too much sugar. He won't listen to me. Please tell my son to stop eating so much sugar. And he says, I get to do my imitation of Gandhi. This is very good. Very good. Very good. But come back in 2 weeks and I will tell your son. And so she goes, okay. So she takes him home. 2 weeks later, Gandhiji, Gandhiji, my son eats too much sugar. Please teach him. Gandhi says, young man, he says, you must stop eating so much sugar. A bit is all right, but too much is too much. And the boy goes, okay, right? And the mom goes, oh, that's wonderful, that's just wonderful, wonderful, but why did you wait 2 weeks? Gandhi says, well, madam, 2 weeks ago I was eating sugar myself. Right? So in other words, he didn't want to be a hypocrite. If he's still eating sugar, he's not going to tell somebody else to stop eating sugar. So he quits and then tells the kid's like, you know, because he felt it. So here I am trying to say, you should tell your son not to smoke, be the only guy among his friends who doesn't smoke marijuana. Tell him that. And she says, oh, thank you so much. So she didn't. She's a really good mom. She sat down with him and she said, tell me about it. What's it like? And he says, well, you know, I'm the only guy. And I don't care about marijuana, but I care about my friends. And so she, So good mom, she was freaking out. She didn't want to tell him it's okay to smoke dope. You know, what mother wants to tell their kids it's okay to smoke dope? No mother. So she got all the studies and, you know, what is the effect of marijuana? And the teenage brain, and it's apparent there's new research coming out. It's not good on the teenage brain. Marijuana has, actually some, especially the kids before a certain age are very susceptible to neurochemistry changes. And it's not that it just recovers, even as something as quote, innocuous as marijuana, cannabis. So finally, she made a deal with him. She made a bargain with him and said, "Can you wait?" She said, "I'll give you some other kinds of privileges if you can wait. How about wait until you graduate? If you can wait until you graduate," she says, "I'll send you to Hawaii." So he said, "Okay." So he made the deal. And I said, "Do you think he's really going to wait?" I remember. And she says, "Yeah, I think he will. He promised me. It's good for you." So, good bargain. And who knows, by the time he's out of high school, maybe it'll be something different, But she bought some time. And that was a really good, skillful thing, So the question is, why is errors? Well, the parent, teenagers, I remember I did not want to listen to my mom or my dad at a certain age. That was the last thing I wanted, because that was the time I was learning how to stretch my own wings out, make my own mistakes. And the parents, just by talking to the kid, they make the kid react. How difficult, how hard is that? So you can't avoid making an error. That was my example. So if the person was listening, they got my answer. I wanted you all to hear the voice of a nearly 100-year-old musical instrument. This is a Gibson mandola. Isn't that sweet? That's a voice that comes to you from the early 20th century. So, some things are unchanging, and music's vibrations are one of them. We are in a time in August 26th in Berkeley, California, of great social unrest. There were threatened demonstrations across the bay today that didn't happen. And the only people who showed up were the people who were anti-hate and anti-racism. So that was good. The police were out in huge show of force and just went home. Nothing for them to arrest. Tomorrow in our fair city, 3 blocks from where we're sitting tonight, there is another threatened demonstration and conflict, and we'll see. We'll see. Hard to predict. Boston turned out to be no show. San Francisco turned out to be no show. Maybe if we keep our minds on the light and on the music, there will be no violence, and nothing. We'll come back to our good mind, our good heart. Certainly, violent demonstrations prove nothing. So, let's see. We're at the center of it right here in town. We're in tear gas range, and the helicopters. So if we don't hear any helicopters tomorrow, we'll know that one of the organizers in Berkeley called it off. But that person may have no particular influence, so it's hard to know. Certainly the police will be out, and again, in great numbers. The venue that they've scheduled the march for is directly across the street from the police station. So today was supposed to be a prelude, and nothing untoward happened. So what's the Buddhist response? Well, to find the seeds of that fire in our own hearts and put it out there. Use non-toxic asbestos to firewall, to wall off the anger, and nobody's opinion was ever changed by anger. So the Dhammapada said, "It is only by love that hatred is appeased." So we're in times where we can prove that. So that's a thought. Meanwhile, we have merit to transfer, and it's on this page if that's all you have. But if you have a songbook, I'd like to encourage you to turn to the back of the songbook. Dedication of merit. In terms of transferring merit, there are individuals in our community who could certainly use some good light. One of them is Winnie, our dear friend from Tiance, who's experiencing challenges to health. Another is our monk, Heng Sure, who also suffered a heart attack over the last couple of days and is in Ukiah Hospital and can use our help. So if you have nowhere else to transfer merit, those are really good places. And send them our best thoughts for health and long life and well-being and ease. All right? May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can find in giving unity. May our minds away to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. I had a medicine woman from the Quechua tribe take this instrument and hold it up to the full moon and then set it down on the ground, and she listened and she said, there are many, many living beings inside this instrument that you will cross over, she said. Like, how about that? There we go. Edith Piaf on the mandola. So, speaking of music, I have one thing to share with everybody, which is to say, we don't need the screen, but we do need the audio. We have mixed, that is to say, Fabrizio and Jody Stecker, bless his heart, and Henry Kaiser, and our engineer, Jeremy Goody, over at Megasonic Studios, have used their magic ears to put together some songs. And we got the editing down now. So I'll play one of them for you all. This is Empty Cloud. You heard it a little bit last week, but this is now edited, mixed. See what you think. This is, you'll hear the banjo at the start, and that's Fabrizio's fingers on the banjo. Foot tapping is permitted. How can you not tap your foot with a banjo? The cup hit the floor with a ringing sound that echoed in the air. Empty space broke to bits, and my mad mind stopped right there. 陪着不落地，向生命历历，虚空翻碎，往心当下息。Burned my hand, shattered my cup, broken for good my mind. Like my family, it's lost. People are gone and words are hard to find. 陪着不落地，向生命历历，虚空翻碎，放心当下 fragrance to the sun. Mountains, rivers, the earth itself are just the thus come one. 妹子不落地，向生命历历，虚空粉碎也，狂心当下。妹子不落地，向生命历历，虚空粉碎也，狂心当下。There you go. How do you think it sounds? Yeah. Jin Chuan was afraid we were going to mess it up. He heard us rehearsing and he said, "Don't mess it up. Don't add too much." So did we mess it up? Yes, we did. Oh no, he's nodding. Connie. Sounded like it came down from the heavens. Oh my goodness. They play banjos in the heavens? If they do, I want to go. There's violin in the end. That's Susie Thompson, who's a local musician, playing the fiddle. But what you were hearing was the a ghost. You were hearing the hammered dulcimer, the yangqin, which is a santur. That's the yangqin. It's not a. This is before it became the yangqin. The yang of the yangqin means foreign. It's the foreign qin. It's originally from Persia. And Robin Petrie, friend of the monastery, plays the santur, S-A-N-T-U-R or T-O-U-R, which is a Persian instrument. And it went to Greece and it became their lyre. It went to China and became the yangqin. It went to the Appalachians and became the hammered dulcimer. Same instrument, originally from Persia. Yeah, and so I have to tell people, the story of Master Empty Cloud, 北自普落地，香声米粒粒，虚空分碎，狂心当下息。唐之手打翠杯，甲坡人望，鱼难开。春到花分向处处修，山河大地是如来。And I have to, show them the original poem and describe Master Empty Cloud. And this is home in America. This is an American musical setting for Master Empty Cloud's experience of enlightenment. So, 金佛师怎么样啊？还好吗？南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，虚空南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，也可以。Yeah. You need the banjo. Get Fab to play. Yeah, why not? Sure. Okay, that's one. We've got we mixed 5 more in a day. We've got another 8 to go, and there's some pretty tasty things. There's the David Rounds' song for Guan Yin. Fab and I do the duet on it. And she who hears the voices of the world hears my voice. Namo Guan Yin Bodhisattva. He wrote it for his Buddha Root Farm because he couldn't go in 2016. So he dedicated the song to the campers who could go. And David, as people know, is also suffering from his affliction. And I went to his home, where he is now, and played him the first rough draft of the song, and we didn't tell him that we were going to record it. We just did it, and he was listening and listening. He burst into tears. So, happy tears. So yeah, it wasn't a reaction to the song. No, nothing like that. Right. So yeah. So anyway, we'll play more as we go along. Okay, let's have some announcements. By the way, we are delighted that we are 1 monk more, and he's got a new name. Jinwei Shi, back from his full ordination. We have a new bhikshu in the house. So you guys stay away from him. So that's probably he's been a monk before. This is just a returning. But you notice these, from where I'm sitting, I'm noticing these 3 orange robes. It's very nice to see. Jin Husher will be back soon, and then our team will be reunited. Enough for a basketball team. I think Jin Wei Shi will be the center. We'll make you the center. Yeah. So what is happening this week coming up? Ulambana. Yeah, we are going to be putting out the tables tomorrow for Ulambana. That time again. And people remember, every year we do it. And if people would care to make offerings starting tomorrow, you're welcome to do that. Or you can take them to CTDB. Same. Yang. And then next Saturday we'll be doing the ceremony. What's the actual day? Tuesday? Tuesday, the following, not this Tuesday, the following Tuesday is the actual day for Ulambana, our holiday.
So September 2nd would be the time we're going to be doing Ulambana here at Berkeley Monastery, starting at 9 a.m. And then September 3rd is actually Ulambana at the City 10,000 Buddhas. So I don't know when that's going to start. Usually they have Dharma assembly starting probably from the 3 steps 1 bow at 6:50 a.m. All the way to maybe just actually a leaving home ceremony.
Shaving head
ceremony as well in the afternoon at 1 o'clock. So that will be at the 10,000 Buddhas on September 3rd. And I think that actually the YC sent an email saying that the Amitabha recitation would be moved back a week because of the Ulambana celebration. So I think she says September 10th for the walking recitation. Earth Store Bodhisattva? Is it going to start right after that? Do you know what the dates are? Yeah, usually it's around that time. I'm not sure exactly which day, but maybe look at the calendar. But we have Earth Store session and also at the 7,000 Buddhas in September. I'm not sure if it starts exactly on September 3rd or maybe a week thereafter. 17th? Okay, so 17th, the week of September 17th. Okay.
And there's the Calgary opening is also coming up soon. Those of you who are going up to Calgary for Avatamsaka Monastery's new dedication. They've been working to upgrade the facilities there, and it's quite splendid. So some of us will be going up for that. Avatamsaka Monastery in Calgary, Calgary, Alberta, is doing their rededication. They've got 10,000 Buddha images and all. What's the date of that? They have a long series. They have a Emperor Liang Repentance. They've got a Chan Week. 9th and 10th of September. Yeah. Be there? Great. Okay. Good. Yeah, me too. All right. So with that in mind, shall we bow to the Buddhas and make our transference again? And we say, if it's the path, advance on it. If you discern it's not the path, retreat from it. Take what's good from what you've heard and cultivate it. What's not good, change it inside. 师道之进，非道在退，在善而从，不善而改。See you next week. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master.